Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another 3016 scale figure unboxing and review. Today, we're taking a look at Geralt of Rivia based off his appearance in Season 3 of The Witcher on Netflix. Now, I got mine as a review sample direct from Threezero. As always, even though they've sent me this, all opinions are 100% my own. If you're looking for this piece, I've popped a link to their site in the description. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new 3016 scale figure review goes live on the channel. One thing that Threezero consistently excels at is the size of their figure boxes. This is nice and compact, and it's going to be so much easier to store because of it. Now, I believe the reason why they decided to go with the Season 3 outfit for Geralt, even though it's arguably the least exciting of his three suits from the seasons, is, you see, they're not stupid. They know that we probably won't double dip on The Witcher, so even though the other companies that made Henry Cavill's Witcher in 1/6 scale aren't licensed where Threezero is, and being licensed is 100% a selling point for most people, chances are they weren't going to pick up another Season 1 Witcher or another Season 2 Witcher if they already owned those unlicensed versions. So now, Threezero have just taken that reason not to buy off the table by making something completely different with the Season 3 outfit. As for the box art, quite straightforward, an image of the figure himself up front, and down below, the Witcher logo. It was a smart move, the first officially licensed Henry Cavill as the Witcher, and it's in a look that no other company has made yet. On the side of the box, nothing really, just some logos. Around the back, some figure photography, one of him wearing his cloak and the other him holding a potion. Then down below, warnings and legal information. This top flap is held in place with Velcro. You can flip it open to reveal the figure inside, covered by a clear plastic window, and not one, but two Witcher symbols. I've been cautiously optimistic for Threezero's take on Geralt. Some of their figures are more well-received than others. Let's just say, like their entire Rambo line was incredible. But others, not so much. First in-hand impressions for Geralt? So far, so good. I'm liking the proportions, how heavy he feels in hand, and I can see the Henry Cavill likeness in that sculpt. What we're going to do now is get all of his accessories laid out in the lightbox and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Normally, right about now, I'd be saying something like starting off with the display base first, but he doesn't have one. In typical Threezero fashion, they decided not to give us a display base. Please, Threezero, give us bases. We need them, especially for figures like The Witcher. You're going to want to have him in a dynamic pose. Anyway, we get a sheath for his sword, sculpted and painted on both sides, even though you're never going to see any of this stuff. This is rubbery plastic. You'll see it on him a little bit later. Both swords are compatible with it. But this sword is my favorite of the two. There is just so much to look at on this crossguard. It's well painted, and we've got a wash in the sculpted detail, so all of that pops. Whereas this sword is arguably the more basic of the two. There's weathering on the blade, and the crossguard, and the handle, and the pommel. Both swords are made of plastic. They're flexible enough so that even if you put some pressure on them while you're installing them in his hands or the sheath, I don't think either sword is going to break on you. Now, I'm no Witcher expert. In fact, I'm a Witcher noob. I've never played the games. I've only seen Seasons 1, 2, and half of Season 3 on Netflix. I've got no idea what the scripture on the back of the necklace symbolizes. All I know is that cannot have been easy to sculpt. There is a wash over it, so that sculpted stuff does stand out. The chain is made of real metal. I'll pop this on him just like the sheath later on. The knife is weathered on the handle and on the silver bits that poke out above and below this wrapping in the middle. This has a spot to store it in on his outfit. You'll see what I mean when we bring him out here. These little potions that look like they've got a wax seal up on top, but they're just painted in black, can also be stored on him. So that means everything can be, right? The little knife in its holster, one of the swords in his hand, the other one on his back in the sheath, and he can wear the necklace, so nothing should be finding its way into an accessory tub. You can just have him using all of it. And lastly, some hands, just the basics, these open palm ones with a decent amount of wrinkling, but nowhere near enough leather grain texture. There's a little on the back, that's just not HD enough for me. Two gripping hands, they are made of this softer material, so prying them open to then pop the sword handles inside of them shouldn't be a huge challenge. And lastly, two closed fists already installed on him right out of the box. What we're going to do now is get Geralt of Rivia himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories except for the sword in the sheath and the dagger in its holster and the potions on his belt, so quite a few accessories. Oh, and the necklace as well. This is a solid attempt at Geralt from Season 3 of The Witcher. It's just such a shame that Threezero was so late to pick up the license because their hands were tied. They had to make the Season 3 outfit for all of the reasons that I mentioned in the unboxing segment. And the reason it's a shame is because Season 3 is the most boring outfit of the bunch. Season 2 had that sick armored look to it. Season 1, all of the rivets on the leather. But what's this? It's just a leather tunic and some black fabric. At least the proportions are good. I think the accessories are solid, and the head sculpt, even from a distance, looks like Henry Cavill. Up close and personal, kicking things off with the Witcher's head sculpt. It's actually quite good. Like, I can see Henry Cavill specifically from that angle right there. The likeness is bang on for me. Is it a perfect head sculpt? No, I don't think so. Is it better than the Buzz Toys one? 100%. That one was based on the Hot Toys Superman sculpt, I think, and that's a dated head sculpt. This, with a repaint, could be truly sensational. As it comes out of the box, still really solid. The expression works with a subtle furrowed brow. He's looking up ever so slightly with his orange-tinted but glossy eyes. There's a 5 o'clock shadow down below, and the hair is made of this softer rubbery plastic, so we'll see when we get to articulation, but I don't think it's going to get in the way too much. It's a bit dark for The Witcher. The wash is heavy. There's a grey wash and a black wash in the crevices with a lighter, almost white dry brush that's been dulled down after the fact, so I might repaint the hair myself to make it look a little bit lighter than it currently does. There's no shortage of detail for the sculpted hair. You can see the individual strands and even the separate mini rubbery ponytail with the hair tie above it. It looks like the hair has been pulled around the back over the top of the rest of it to form the smaller ponytail. You can use the other sword in the sheath if you so choose. I happen to just prefer the sword that I just had in there. My personal preference, this one sticks up ever so slightly too much for it to be displayable in my opinion. So we'll just switch it back to this sword for now. The sheath is made of sculpted plastic. It's well painted. There's even some wrinkling sculpted in on the surface, some undulations to it to make it look like it's lumpy and bumpy and slightly soft, but it isn't. It's all solid plastic. However, it sits on top of a pleather tunic with pleather straps and a pleather belt. Pleather is a dirty word when it comes to 1/6 scale figures, especially for me. I hate the stuff. I plan on removing the tunic, and we'll do that in a moment. Not just for longevity, but also the fit of it isn't flattering for this figure. It makes him look slightly frumpy. We'll get to that in just a second. We've got the eyelets on the outside of this sleeve edge, and the stitched-in X's. Oh, and the potions inside these slots on the belt are removable. See what I mean? From the front, you can see the detail on that crossguard over his shoulder, and that's why I like that sword so much better than the other one. He's wearing his necklace. You can see it poking out from underneath his various layers for the outfit. The pleather suit, I said it looks frumpy. It does. It bulks him out, it's very wide at the waist, and Henry Cavill has that signature superhero physique, that V taper down to his waist. This is not doing him any favors. The shirt underneath the pleather tunic is just regular fabric, whereas the gauntlets with the Season 1 style rivets on them, these are sculpted plastic. They look like they could be material. There's that wrinkling and cinching where it looks like the fabric is pulling, those straps right there. So they know how to sculpt stuff to make it look like pleather. But that doesn't save them from this. This could not have been sculpted. The only way to do this is nylon, in my opinion. I don't think Threezero would have gone with genuine leather because that's extremely pricey for a figure of this price point. But nylon should have been investigated. Coming down to his legs, he's got the gold buttons on his fly, a signature Witcher look, I'm glad that's there. Some ribbed padding just underneath his sculpted plastic knee pads, there's some rubbery straps behind them, some panel lines working their way around the back, and some detail work on his thighs. That stuff will be a lot more visible once we take the tunic off. This sheath or slot for his knife to slide into is functional. You can remove the blade from there if you so choose, but it sits in nice and securely. This is a split-cut boot design for maximum range of motion, all sculpted plastic. There's a sheen that I'm not a massive fan of. I'm going to hit these with a dull coat, and I'm hoping that that makes them look slightly more realistic. The sculpt is there, it's the sheen that lets them down. There's almost a spur on the back of them, but that spiky circle isn't present. I know there's a technical word to describe it, I just don't know it, so I apologize for that. On the underside, no tread, but some weathering. Now we can start trying out some alternative looks. We're going to pop on the robe, then we're going to remove the tunic, then we're going to remove everything because I've got a sneaking suspicion that this body might be reuse. And if it is, and they're using the body that I think they are, we might be in for a treat. Hey, you know what? Not bad. This is made of a very thin, almost microfiber feeling material. We've got a wire around the edge of the collar, but not in the hood, so I wouldn't suggest getting him to wear this. It comes across very goofy. If you wet it, then shape it and wait for it to dry, okay, it looks quite good. But right now, because it's not wired, not fantastic. This dragon scale waxy effect for the top part is unique and adds a lot of visual interest to something that's otherwise just a plain piece of black textured fabric. It covers up most of his outfit, so that's why I'm not going to use this. Okay, it doesn't work. I was thinking that this was going to be my display option. They were relying on the thickness of the tunic to account for the longer neck. Now, without it, his neck is far too long. I don't believe this is displayable. One of the main reasons why I thought this was going to work is his forearms are fully detailed. There's sculpted and painted skin texture on them. And they're made of a softer plastic. We'll get there. There's a ton of detail for his neck/pec area, including a scar that I don't really remember seeing on Henry Cavill's Witcher. Random, I know. I had to find out if my suspicions were correct. And they are. They're using the Rambo body for Geralt. It's not like they've just grabbed one off the production line either. This is custom painted and molded in a lighter skin tone specific for the Witcher. There's shading and skin texture and vein work. It's not like you're ever going to see any of this. The only bit of the body that's visible is the neck and this little area where his shirt collar splits open. Now you know it's here though. If you wanted to take off bits of his outfit to show more of his seamless arms or his abs or pecs, totally doable. This bit of rubbery plastic that sticks out over the pants is frustrating to deal with, but you can finagle everything and get it to look better than I currently have it looking. His body is slightly small to accurately represent Henry Cavill. Don't forget, when you start adding the layers over the top, that significantly bulks him out. Very quickly, for those wondering what the Threezero figure looks like wearing the BuzzToys sculpt, and I apologize for the little glossy spot on his nose, but he took a tumble and now he looks like that. The only issue I have with this is the skin tone doesn't match. BuzzToys went with this very vibrant reddish tan skin tone, where Threezero's is more natural and accurate to Henry Cavill with the pale skin tone. The likeness is decent, but I think I prefer the Threezero stock head sculpt on this body. For a quick side-by-side comparison, I just want to say before we get stuck in, that both figures have their pros and cons, neither is perfect, and neither, I think, completely destroys the other. On the left with Threezero officially licensed, so that's a win. Better proportions. I like the head sculpt more than BuzzToys because he's got this natural looking complexion. He's not tan and red. Not sure why BuzzToys went with that color of skin tone, but they did. However, I prefer the Season 1 outfit that the unlicensed figure gave us, and he's got die-cast swords, a monster arm, plus a second head sculpt. If you're sitting here right now, trying to decide between these two pieces, it's going to be a tough decision, and unfortunately, only you can make that. It's literally going to come down to personal preference. Going over articulation, because we know he's on the Rambo body, his articulation should be pretty much identical. Starting off with his head sculpt, there's a double ball peg underneath the rubbery neck, looking forward to there, which is more range than I was expecting, given the sculpted hair. Going back to there, swivel and pivot side to side. His arms are plugged in separately at the shoulders on hinges and ball joints going up to there, ratchet joint as well. Forward and back, there's a butterfly that hinges up and down. Double bend on ratchets at the elbow, it springs back down one click if you go too far, and that's where you get your swivel, either at the shoulder or at the elbow joint. Then for the wrist peg, it's a hinge and swivel. His torso will crunch forward to there, going back to there, swivel, and pivot side to side. His legs are heavily padded. Going forward is restricted to there, going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh. Soft ratchets at the knee, it's a double bend going past 90. Then a split cut boot design with a double ball peg for the ankles. You can move the top part of the boot up, then articulate the foot forward and back, swivel, we get ankle tilt, bring this back down to cover up the gap. Wrapping up on our first and currently still only, at the time of filming this video, licensed 1/6 scale version of Henry Cavill as The Witcher from the Netflix Witcher series. Going forward, we're probably not going to get another Henry because, if you think about it, Liam Hemsworth is taking over the role for better or worse. Normally, the license holder doesn't want companies to make merch based off someone who used to play the role when they've just recast it with someone else entirely. I wouldn't be surprised if this remains our only 1/6 scale licensed Witcher. But we'll have to wait and see. How does it stack up? I think it's only just better than the BuzzToys one. I prefer this head sculpt. If it was painted better, this one would be a clear winner. It would wipe the floor with the BuzzToys piece. I dig the hair on this. The proportions, I think, are superior. But the swords are made of plastic, and he doesn't come with a display base, and his outfit for the tunic part and the belt and the straps, all of that stuff is pleather. Y'all know me. I loathe pleather. It doesn't last. It is going to degrade. It doesn't matter what you treat it with, 303 or something else. Eventually, it is going to go. It just doesn't stand the test of time. And mine is already looking sus right out of the box. At the end of this, do I recommend Threezero's Witcher? Yeah, I think he's a solid option, and I think he's going to be the only option. So if you want Henry Cavill as Geralt and you need it to be licensed, this is a pretty safe bet. I do not think you're going to be disappointed with this. Now, I got mine as a review sample direct from Threezero. I've popped a link to their site in the description, But for full transparency, as always, all opinions are 100% my own. They may have sent me this, but they've not told me what to say. If you're heading down to the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.